Councilmember Abdelgawad.
Here.
Councilmember Barber.
Present.
Councilmember Berenson.
Present.
Councilmember Burke.
Present.
Councilmember Holman.
Present.
Councilmember Kellogg.
Present.
Councilmember Moorhead.
Present.
Councilmember Townsend.
Present.
Mayor Turnbow.
Present. Would you please rise and join me in a pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have no presentations or awards tonight or personal appearances on our calendar, so we'll move right into staff reports. Chief Zimmerman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask Mr. Krass to make a report.
Thank you, Chief, Mayor, members of the council. In addition to my written report, just wanted to let everyone know that on Saturday, we are going to be microservicing Municipal Circle. We have notified all the businesses. We held a good neighbor meeting a couple of months ago, answered questions about the project, and then with the assistance of the communications department, we put things on Facebook and also flyers in the various businesses. And that concludes my report for the evening.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of staff? If not, anything else, Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Krass. I'd ask Mr. Mustine to make a report for Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Chief. Mayor, members of the council. I submitted a written report, just a couple highlights. First and foremost, thank you for those who attended the groundbreaking ceremony for the RAC. Pretty exciting time for the city, and very pleased with that, and I hope to have a great project. So we appreciate you guys coming out for that. Also, thank you to the residents and everybody who participated in the Spirit of America celebration. I know it seems like a long way away, but it's the first time I've been before you since that event, and it was very successful. We had a large group of people. We feel like we probably doubled our attendance over the year with the date change, so we feel like that was a very successful move, and we were pleased with those results. This Friday night is our second movie night of the park. It will be at TB Hanna Station. We are showing the Lego Batman movie, and so information's on our Facebook page and our website. If you and it's also in my staff report. If you have any questions, be happy to answer that. I'm pretty excited about August 11th is our mini mud run. This will be the second year we've done this at Hawk Ridge Park. The marketing or the communications department put a pretty fantastic video together with some drone footage and pictures that we took from last year's event. And if that doesn't get you excited, then you're just not into mud. So we're looking forward to that. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Ms. Abdelgawad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a quick question. Since a lot of my neighbors and people in Ward 4 use Rec Park an awful lot for walking on a regular basis, can you give us a little bit of an idea on the timeline of what they might see there, when the trails might be closed for work there and things like that, how that might affect the park over there?
Yes, ma'am. We're anticipating mobilization to begin maybe late next week. Right now, we don't anticipate it having any effect on the trail. It should be all encompassed within that practice soccer field area. It'll be fenced appropriately, and we don't anticipate the trails being shut down. If it is, it'll be for a short period of time, just during transition and stuff, so it shouldn't impact that. If Mr. Krass can expand on that if that's any different, but in the meetings with the contractors, we didn't anticipate that at all. You bet.
Mr. Holman.
Thank you, sir. A question on off topic, Mr. Mustine. This year was the first year that we had Hawk Ridge Park and Johnston Lake stocked with the lake trout, which is very popular, obviously. Yes, and those that, if you follow that, you know that those lake trout are cold water fish and they don't survive, that time has passed for us. Now, just to check for understanding, DNR intends to restock that each year, is that correct for us?
Yes, sir. We have budgeted this within our annual budget in park maintenance. So last year we did a one-time stock, but just because of the time of year when we implemented it. Going forward, we will have, I believe it's a November and a February stock, so it'll be done twice a year.
Outstanding. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Barber, did you have anything? Oh, okay. All right, Chief. Thank you, Nathan.
And finally, Mr. Fearborn wanted me to let you all know you are not off the hook for the work session on the 31st, but he doesn't, he's not going to reveal what those items are yet. He had a couple of things that he was interested in discussing with you all at the work session until he found out that the mayor and I are both going to be out of town. So you're still having the meeting, but I don't have the items. So, and that's all I have for staff reports.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the chief? Not, we'll move on to committee reports. Mr. Moorhead, you want to give a report from the Charter Commission?
The Charter Commission went back into session. There were a number of questions that the council and mayor had issued back to us. We went ahead and reviewed those, had some discussions. There were a couple of amendments. We have resubmitted our final revised charter report to the council for the council to take full consideration of. And that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Next item is the consent agenda. Consent agenda has 5 items on it tonight. Is there a motion to dispose of the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda to include items A, City Council minutes for July 10, 2017. Item B, the Centerview audio-visual installation acceptance and final payment. Item C, the reappointment of Sharon Paris to the Raymore Arts Commission. Item D, reappointment of Patricia Setzer to the Raymore Arts Commission. And item E, the acceptance of excused absences.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the 5 items on the consent agenda. Any further discussion? Ms. Abdel, go ahead.
Can I request that we remove item A for separate consideration?
Okay,
Since I was absent from that meeting.
absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, so the motion is to accept the consent agenda with the removal of item A at this time. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Does anybody want to take up the item A on the consent agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve item A, the City Council minutes for July 10, 2017.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the council minutes from the July 10th meeting. All those, any discussion? Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say that since we just got back in town yesterday at 2:30 a.m., I haven't had a chance to review the video from that meeting, so I don't feel comfortable voting
Okay.
on those minutes. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Noes? Abstentions? We have 7 yes and 1 abstention. Motion passes. We'll move on to unfinished business at this time. We have 1 item. Can I please have the second reading of Bill 3282 by title only?
The second reading of Bill 3282 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Terry Snelling Construction, Inc. for the 2017 curb project, City Project Number 17-275-201, in the amount of $414,585, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints.
Thank you. Is there a motion to dispose of Bill 3282?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Bill 3282 for an award of contract for the 2017 curb project.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve Bill 3282. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We'll move on to new business now. This item, on your counter tonight before you is a letter of no tax due, but I will allow staff to give an update report on that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd ask Ms. Warner to give a report.
Okay.
Thank you. Jeanette Singleton, the owner of the Pit Grill and Bar, provided a no tax due letter from the Department of Revenue late Friday on July 21st, which, as the mayor said, has been distributed for council's review. Receipt of this document does satisfy the requirements of city code. Staff does request the public hearing be closed with no action provided by council. That concludes my staff report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of staff before we move on? Okay, we'll move on to item B. Can I please have the first reading of Bill 3284 by title only?
Excuse me, Mayor. Would you
Yes.
close the public hearing, please?
Oh, I never opened it, but okay. I mean, I guess I can on item A. I didn't open it because I knew that we pulled it from the agenda. Just ask for a staff report.
Okay.
Should we, I mean, it did, but was posted as a public hearing.
Was
Should we go ahead and
advertised
close
as a
it?
public hearing,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, I'm fine with opening and closing on that
Before we
matter.
move on then, I will close the public hearing. And then we'll move on to item B. Could I please have the first reading of Bill 3284 by title only?
First reading of Bill 3284 by title only, an ordinance of the City of Raymore, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and city manager to enter into an agreement with Terry Snelling Construction, Inc. for the 2017 sidewalk project, city project numbers 17-269-201 and 202, in the amount of $148,691, and authorizing the city manager to approve change orders within established budget constraints.
Thank you. Chief, could I have a staff report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd ask Mr. Krass to give a staff report.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we are requesting award of this project to Terry Snelling Construction. Our staff report summarizes the bid results. Terry Snelling has done a considerable amount of work for the city in the past several years and has performed satisfactorily. That concludes staff report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of staff? Mr. Burke?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Wanted to ask if we knew what percentage of the city would be sidewalked at this point, if after this project was completed, or what it is now. We've got to be getting pretty close to having at least one sidewalk on every street.
I don't have the exact percentage, but I do know that there's only possibly one more year left in the program.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have anything from staff? Not, is there a motion to dispose of the first reading of Bill 3284?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Bill 3284 for an award of contract for the 2017 sidewalk project.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the first reading of Bill 3284. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Could I please have the reading of Resolution 17-43?
The reading of Resolution 17-43 by title only, a resolution of the City of Raymore, Missouri, amending the schedule of fees.
Thank you. Is there a staff report, Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd ask Ms. Watson to give a staff report.
Thank you, Chief. Mayor and Council, the item before you is a resolution to amend the schedule of fees. The schedule of fees has been modified to include an increase to the excise tax rates, an increase to the residential solid waste fee, and modifications to the Parks and Recreation fees. The Parks and Recreation Board met on April 23rd and voted unanimously to make a name change of the East Shelter to the Moon Valley Shelter, as well as approve the policies and fees associated with the Centerview facility. The License Tax Review Committee met on July 12th to review the 2016 annual report, and at that meeting, they voted unanimously to recommend to the City Council to increase the current license tax rate for residential development to $1,982 per trip from the current $1,928 per trip. And for commercial development to increase to $529 per trip from the current $515 per trip. These two changes have been included in the excise tax section. And then the final change is to increase the residential solid waste fee, so effective January 1, 2018, to be up to date with our current contract. I just want to note that at this time, there are no proposed adjustments to the water and sewer utilities. Staff is currently still reviewing those and will be bringing those forward following a future work session. And that concludes staff report.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? Mr. Holman?
On the third item, you mentioned the Parks and Recs changing the schedule of fees. Was the setting the rates for Centerview the only change that they made in their schedule, or were there other changes as well?
They did make a name change for the East Shelter to the Moon Valley Shelter, and then they just added the schedule of fees as they approved for the Centerview.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Berg?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question about rental of Centerview by nonprofits. I know in the past we've allowed nonprofits to rent like the Park House for no fee, just a deposit, and then they get their deposit back if they clean it up. Is there any kind of provisions for something like that, like a scouting organization to do a Pinewood Derby or something like that?
The way the current schedule of fees is set is for future use, so that we don't have to come back and modify. But I know in the initial setup of Centerview, the Parks Director does have the ability to work with entities.
Okay.
Mr. Kellogg?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And thank you for the report. You said that the water and sewer fees are not scheduled to go up right now, but under current review. I guess my question is when those figures come in and they are concrete, will those come back to the council this year for a reassessment during this current year, or will those wait until next year to be adjusted then?
No, it will come forward this year still. Staff will bring forward, as we always have, in a work session that is publicly announced. There's a lot of regulations that we have to follow for the sewer portion of the rates. We're not prepared at this time to bring that forward. We're looking at the water and sewer rates, as well as the deposits and some various other things. And we just felt at this time it was important to go ahead and bring forward the schedule of fees that we knew we wanted to make changes to, and hold off on any presentation of water and sewer utilities, whether it's to hold them current or recommend a change. We're not ready for that at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's nothing else, is there a motion to dispose of Resolution 17-43?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt Resolution 17-43 for the amendment of schedule of fees.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to adopt Resolution 1743. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. That concludes our agenda for this evening. The next item on our agenda is the public comments. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to address the council at this time, please step forward and keep your comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Anyone? None of you scouts want to talk about what happened tonight? No? Okay, well, there you go. We appreciate you being here. So I'll move on to mayor and council communication if there's no one to address the council tonight. I'll start with Mr. Holman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to start off by saying God bless the Boy Scouts, and thank you for being here, because if it were not for you, we would virtually have no audience tonight other than most of those who are here in conjunction with their employment. So thank you very much. We do appreciate you being here, and I think you're going to be here on one of our record-setting nights, because we're going to be done in less than 30 minutes, and that doesn't occur very often. Mr. Crass, I want to tell you again how much I appreciate, and I think all 20,000 citizens of the city appreciate, driving on roads where you can see the striping, where we don't have potholes, and it is very clear when you drive in and out of our city what care your department takes in providing our transportation and infrastructure. And I hope, sir, dearly, that your dentist takes as good of care as your teeth as you do of our city infrastructure. Thank you very much. I would like to recognize Mr. Tapp. Mod Pizza is full tonight. I don't know if they're doing a dinner for their future employees or what, but the parking lot was packed, and so was the building when I drove by. I know they're going to open in 2 days. School Foundation's been putting out a lot of information on that because they pledged some of that money to them, and that's a great partnership. For those of you not familiar with Mod Pizza, and I'm one of them, they originated out of Pacific Northwest, out of the Seattle area, and they get rave reviews, so it'll be kind of cool when the new restaurant opens here in a couple of days for us all to be able to go in and try that out. And last thing I would have is for Chief Zimmerman. Well handled for your first meeting. I see you used a very slide tactic and wearing that uniform, so nobody's going to cross you tonight. I'm very impressed with that. So thank you very much. Great job tonight. That's all I have, sir.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Barber.
Thank you. I won't extend this like my counterpart here, but Chief, again, thanks. Good meeting. And I want to thank the citizen volunteers. We had a couple tonight that we reappointed. So again, we couldn't do that. We couldn't run the city. We couldn't do what we do without them, and we do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Abdelgawad.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be short tonight, too. I just want to say I'm super excited about the groundbreaking for the RAC over in Rec Park. Little disappointed that we were out of the country and didn't get to be there for that, but I'm excited to see the ball rolling over there, and excited to see what's coming next. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Berenson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also, very excited to see the RAC breaking ground, and look forward to watching that be built here very soon. Great to see the volunteers, not only those that were chosen, but if you look, there were quite a few people that volunteered. And it's great to know that we have that many volunteers in this city, and I would encourage them to continue volunteering. Look forward to see the Lego Batman movie Friday night at the Rec Park. My kids have been reminding me about that daily. And one more last thing on the schedule of fees for the RAC. I would encourage city staff to consider maybe next time we do a schedule of fee change that maybe we could put something in there for the nonprofits, something above and beyond the discretion of the park manager. Those are just my thoughts on that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Moorhead.
Chief Zimmerman, I would say thank you for such a great meeting. Mr. Holman, I was given additional and unique instruction tonight, which will be paid back / reciprocated next Monday night. I thought that went well. I only have one point, although we're so early, I think we all should have gotten 10 minutes to talk tonight. I guess I should have let Councilmember Kellogg go first on that, though. Shouldn't have said that first. But the one thing I do want to bring up, and Mr. Berenson brought this up, and with our park director and the head of our parks department in the back, I would say, when we were talking about one of the primary purposes of Centerview, it was for nonprofits and community groups. I'm not disappointed. I mean, I'm happy that we're doing this, and a lot of boulders continue to get taken off the road, but this is significant, and I do think I would ask that that group reconsider or maybe amend to take that into consideration, and then we go ahead and bring that before the council. I hope that you guys will take advantage of that.
Thank you. Mr. Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Wanted to apologize for not being here for the last legislative meeting. Took my children, my family to Washington, D.C., and we had 2 grandparents that were laid to rest in Arlington. It was amazing. There was a band, there was a bagpipe player, there was the 21-gun salute, there were the amount of medals on the honor guard for the Air Force. I realized the amount of resources that these highly decorated and important soldiers were there to honor other fallen soldiers, and it was really impressive. We also got a chance to go to the Capitol, see the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, and the Constitution, and it was really cool. I made sure my son saved a bunch of stuff for his citizenship in the Nation Award. Said, well, you never know, the pictures might not be enough. So I know some of you guys are working, I know you're working on citizenship in the community right now tonight, so good job on that. But it was really awesome, but I did have an opportunity to do bike share in the city, and it really made me think about our community for all ages and what bike lanes do for people. It was once we figured out how to use the bike lanes, we were able to make it through rush hour traffic so much faster than cars, and not by knocking people off the sidewalk. but it was definitely a challenge in such a big city. But that did make me think about, well, how could anything like this work here? And I don't think we have enough population, but we certainly have the ability to put bike lanes in and things like that. But that's when I go places, I look for things. I'm like, okay, if they can do this here, how can we do this at a small level in Raymore? And then also, it was great to be a part of the groundbreaking for the new gymnasium. It's going to be awesome. And obviously, I also feel strongly about nonprofits being able to, especially groups, not necessarily groups that already have property in a building, but a lot of times groups that, borrow other people's property and buildings for meetings. Sometimes churches or other locations are just not big enough to have those big events, whether it be a Girl Scout Halloween party or whatever. It would be nice to have those types of things going on in our new city buildings. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Also wanted to thank the Citizens Award Warrant for coming out for the town hall meeting. Thank you to my children who showed up to stump me with a couple of hard questions. Very, very informative. I was surprised behind that. But it was some good questions, good answers, and good discussion with the citizens who did show up. So I appreciate their attendance, giving us some actionable information, some actionable things to bring back to the staff and council. So it was an excellent opportunity and a learning opportunity for me. So it was very, very worthwhile, and I appreciate it. Excellent work to Mr. Tapp and Mods. And Firehouse sign is up as well to see that business coming into town, and the excitement that's going there, as well as the foundation the ground being broken for the art piece that's in the corner of the parking lot there. So that's pretty interesting to see. Mr. Mustine with the groundbreakings, that was excellent to be a part of that, and our new recreation center going in, and the citizens are very excited about that. I'm hearing discussions about that and how we've separated the two entities, our community center and the recreation center, so we make ample use of our space and give everyone an opportunity to use things in kind of dispersed areas. So again, thank you. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Mr. Kellogg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And pretty much just been covered what I would say. I do want to mention out and say thank you to Commissioner Perez and Commissioner Setzer for their involvement in the city, and congratulations on the reappointment. And thank you, Mr. Mayor, for reappointing them. I think they are very fine folks to do what they're doing, and they've done a fine job over the time that they've done it. Also, Mr. Burke, sorry for your loss, but what an honor. When my uncle passed away last year, almost a year ago, we buried him in the National Cemetery in San Antonio, and what you said right there just brought back all those memories for me, and it was an honor to lay my uncle to rest in that fashion. So I can only imagine. Thank you for that story, and thank you for your family's service. So, and again, sorry for your loss, and all my condolences, prayers on that. Also, I'll echo what Councilman Townsend said, that we had a great meeting for the Ward 1 meeting, and thank the citizens for coming out for that. And Mr. Townsend's children were pretty rough. They did ask some really good questions, and we just couldn't give them just lack answers. We actually gave them some good answers. And anyway, we will be bringing those back for a discussion with council and what the citizens feel their needs are in our ward particularly. Other than that, I really don't know what more to say. I will hold off for another 2 weeks on what I really want to say, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
And I'll leave that to you, but that's all I got. And I'll say this. You close the meeting at 17 minutes after. It is 28 minutes after. That's 11 minutes for 8 members of us. The rest is yours. Thank you.
So we're going to go to 9 now? No, I can't add, but to say my own personal thanks to the groundbreaking ceremonies that went on there. Mr. Manson, thank you for your participation, and Parks Board participation in that. As I mentioned in my speech there, a lot of hard work done by a volunteer board that did come with a great plan to us that helped sell that sales tax on the general obligation bonds. Lots of great things going on here in the city. And you all contributed to that, so thank you again. And then to the volunteers that have stepped up and said that they would be willing to be reappointed to the Arts Commission, I appreciate their willingness to serve. And then tomorrow, if you don't have anything to do at lunchtime, I will deliver an updated State of the City address to the Chamber of Commerce next door at the Centerview Building. And my Communications Division has done a bang-up job of helping me put together a PowerPoint presentation. Okay, they put it together, and I approved it. How's that? So to follow along with the speech. So I do appreciate their help on that, and hopefully the folks that attend will enjoy that as well. And I don't have anything else to add tonight, Mr. Holman.
With your leave, sir, I apologize. I should have mentioned this earlier. A little less upbeat topic, but it speaks to my heart. As Councilmember Kellogg noted when Mr. Burke began talking about his trip out east to the nation's capital, I had failed to mention this earlier. If you pray for Senator John McCain. He has been recently diagnosed with a very difficult form of brain cancer, and although I do not agree with many of Senator McCain's positions, the man has earned the respect of this nation. He was a Navy fighter pilot shot down during the Vietnam War and spent 5.5 years in what was lovingly known as the Hanoi Hilton, a prisoner of war camp. Please pray for him if you do so pray. Thank you, sir.
Amen. Thank you very much. And with that, I don't think we have a reason to go to executive session, so is there a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? It's unanimous. We're adjourned. Thank you.